You're listening to a podcast appearing on the Two Guys Talking Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Green Gab. Marla Esser here, the Green Home Coach. Gabbing with Tony Pratt of the Sound Room.
Hi, Marla.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I know we're usually here in the afternoon.
Yeah, we usually have lunch before we do this.
I know, I missed that today.
It's like I feel like we're just not, in our normal rhythm,
I know. That's kind of our Zen time, but I'm really appreciative that everybody could get our extras recorded now so we can have some space to let life happen. That's a great thing about recording.
It's a good thing Sam's here. Otherwise, I'd really be thrown off.
You know what? I'd like to publicly recognize Sam. Kudos to Sam here at Shock City Studios where we record our podcast. Sam, you're amazing.
Part of the team.
Part of the team. Make these podcasts happen. So thank you, man. Wouldn't be here without you.
You're welcome.
Hey.
And just so you know, we are getting this in so you could have your little vacation.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you're welcome.
So we've got in the studio today Kelly Markowski with Energy Smart Homes. I've known Kelly for a while. I don't know how long. I hate to admit how long I know anybody anymore.
Good morning, Marla.
And I'm so glad we've reconnected over the past few months. The cycle of how things go, right?
Absolutely. I'm glad our paths have crossed again.
I know.
And here we are working together again. So it's great.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So talk about what you do at Energy Smart Homes, and I love how you got here, so share that too, please.
It's interesting. Most folks find my background surprising. So currently, Energy Smart Homes is a residential energy auditing and commercial energy auditing consulting business, also providing project consulting. My goal is I work independently. I'm not working with an HVAC company or an insulating company, so I'm not promoting a specific product. When I walk into a home, it's an independent, unbiased look. And my goal is to help the customer reduce their energy, reduce their cost, and know the best course of action for their house.
Now, when you say customer, are you really referring to the homeowner?
Right, the homeowner or
the true end user.
Or a busince owner.
Or a business owner, right. Okay. Because, and I feel very passionate about that whole process because I think there is, while we're on information overload these days.
Yeah.
And folks try to take a stab at doing the right thing for their property, and they most often make mistakes. They put things out of order, or they choose the wrong course of action, and it costs them money.
Right. They have to redo it.
That's right. They end up having to redo it. I have a customer right now who brought me in because they have done a remodel on the second floor, and it is 20 degrees hotter on a day like today.
Wow.
Their air conditioner never shuts off. And they made some mistakes about their HVAC choice, but they also have a number of issues with the thermal boundary of the property that were not addressed by the traditional contractor, right? The traditional contractor, he did his job. He did what he was trained to do, but he doesn't have that building science background.
Right.
And doesn't have that knowledge, that energy efficiency construction expertise. That's where I come in.
Okay, so why does that matter?
Because now they're backtracking. They're going back and looking at this building and going, well, I'm 20 degrees hotter upstairs. My air conditioner never shuts off. I'm uncomfortable. We've had this guy back out trying to fix the problem. He's been unable to.
But he doesn't know what he's fixing.
He doesn't know what he's fixing. He doesn't. He doesn't know what to look for or how to fix it.
So key element here that I want to make a point with our listeners. Building a building is oftentimes about getting a structure up that shields you from the elements, but not necessarily that is optimized to have you have a comfortable experience in your home.
Right.
And an energy professional can do that. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
So comfort, not so much even saving money. Comfort is driving a lot of this, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. But also, if you have an extreme comfort issue, you also are losing a lot of dollars out the window.
Well, yeah, but if you're miserable, then you're miserable twice, right?
That's right. That's right.
You're miserable in your pocketbook and in your house.
And here's what I like to tell folks. Energy efficiency in a home, whether it's a new construction or a rehab or a remodel or a whatever, or just addressing air sealing and insulating issues in the home to improve the thermal boundary. When you do that and you put those dollars in your wallet from the energy savings, that's not just today or this month. That is for all the years you own that home.
So it's making an investment that's going to pay you back.
Absolutely.
And that's something we've been talking about in multiple podcasts about, the whole, even if it's 5% more on the build cost, what the payback is over time far outweighs that upfront investment.
It's like the operation and gas cost for your car.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not just how much you pay for the car.
Right.
It's how much it costs you over the next 5 years. Yeah.
Folks are worried about the price they're paying for a gallon of gas, but think of your home that same way.
Yeah.
We tend to think about all of the, sexy, pretty things that we want to put in our house, right?
Well, it's the sports car mentality. Right?
Yeah. But then, and so it's not glamorous to think about the structure of the house. And we assume when we buy a house, especially in modern day, that it's been built to a certain standard that is going to be...
You just hit the nail on the head, though. We assume. And we assume, just like we assume with products, that we're being given something that's safe, healthy, comfortable, et cetera, whatever the benefit is. And that ain't always the case, folks.
Well, the homeowner will make the assumption there's insulation in the house. There's insulation in the house.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
What level of insulation?
Well, and also mistakes are made. Let me backtrack a little bit and retract and talk about where it came from and how I got to this place in this industry. So I have an education background, a degree to teach, and right out of college, I went to work for an insurance company in which I was a construction estimator and large loss handler, so fires, floods, tornadoes, etc. And then after doing that for a few years, I went to the teaching industry. I taught for 18 years, 13 years at one school.
Didn't you teach art?
I taught art. and people think, well, how do these industries connect, Well, I've always had a passion for conserving and energy efficiency and that sort of thing. And I knew from my construction background as an insurance adjuster that I had the tools to look at a house and understand the construction. And I have the ability to teach and educate. And that's a big piece of what I do.
And you have the creativity as an art teacher.
Which involves problem solving.
Yeah. Oh, I hadn't seen that all. That's perfect, yeah.
And so when I decided to be in business for myself and did a little research, I put all the pieces of the puzzle together and said, hey, the piece that is missing is understanding the energy efficiency construction aspect of things. So I went back to school and became certified as a building analyst, shell envelope professional, and so I'm a building science expert.
So shell envelope professional means that your expertise is in the building envelope, the walls, the roof, the basement, the slab, whatever protects the people from the outside.
Correct. So it's the expertise that I have is top to bottom and inside and out, not only the construction, but homeowner habit, the appliances they have in the building, the HVAC system, the ductwork, everything about that structure and who resides in it and what happens in that building, the way the building performs, the way the people behave.
So you're the technical side to what I'm educating and inspiring people to do with Green Home Coach.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so my goal, being an independent energy auditor, and I am one of the few or maybe only one in all of St. Louis, my goal is to help customers reduce their energy bill, put dollars in their pocket, educate them, help them understand, the right choices to make for their house.
Okay, hold that thought because we're coming back to that one.
Okay.
Editing podcasts can be rough. Everyone knows that you'll spend at least double the time you use creating the podcast when editing it. Then there's the control freak factor and the gotta get it right the first time factor. And well, it's time to shove all that out the door and make your podcast soar with the Editor Core. The Editor Core is a talented, experienced team of podcast editors that have edited tens of thousands of hours of podcast content, and they're ready for yours now. Check out editorcore.com because it's time to make your podcast soar. Editorcore.com. That's editorcore.com.
You're listening to a podcast hosted on the Podcast Matrix. Get your entire podcast library hosted now at whatisthepodcastmatrix.com.
Gab in the green today. I keep sticking to that phrase. Sorry,
you really are not Irish.
I know I'm not. Kelly Markowski's not either, though.
Good thing I'm in here. I'm allowed to say that. You're not.
I know. So, Kelly, you were talking when we took a break about the assumptions that homeowners make that their houses are built to a certain standard. And I run into this a lot, too. So let's dig into that a little.
Yeah. So, I've, through the work that I've done over the last 6 years I've been in business, I've been in well over 1,500 homes because I have monitored.
1,500?
Absolutely.
Oh, my gosh.
Actually, it's probably more than like 2,000. That is because I've worked a couple of different programs. I monitored the weatherization program. I did some work for Ameren, walked through energy audits and energy analysis. So I've 4 homes a day, 5 days a week for 4 years. I mean, I've really seen a lot of structures and a lot of problems. For example, in a brand new home out in Wentzville, and I say new, maybe 4 years old, 5 years old, when I went up and inspected the attic, there was an entire bedroom that had no insulation over the bedroom. Another home that I peeked up in the attic, when I pushed away some insulation, this man had been complaining that right next to where this attic access was, that there was a hot spot and a cold spot, depending on the season. And he was baffled. Why do I have high energy bills? And why do I have this problem? I just happenstance, pushed away some insulation. And lo and behold, there was about a 2.5 to 3 foot square hole that went all the way down through the wall, all the way to the basement. And that was because the builder at the last minute changed from a gas furnace to an electric furnace. It no longer needed a vent space. And they didn't cap the hole. They blew a little bit of fiberglass insulation over this, which was falling into the hole.
Right. Call it a day.
Wow.
And, people think that insulation, and even some contractors still think that insulation is going to block airflow, which it does not. So it just really was a big hole from the outside into this house.
So how do you help homeowners solve these kind of things?
Hey, this is a no-brainer. I'll bet you could take a piece of foam board, cut it 3 by 3, and cap the hole.
Yeah.
You could pay a contractor to do it, and it's a relatively easy repair, right? But,
so do you do the work, or do you help them find someone to do the work, or how do you?
You analyze the problem.
You give them the recommendation.
The problem.
Right.
I have worked with folks to tell them how to do repairs. I've worked with their contractors to tell them how to do the repairs. I put their ducks in a row. Hey, this hole is a bigger problem than replacing all those windows that are double pane.
And it's going to cost you a fraction. And it's going to solve your problem better.
Absolutely.
So do you work with remodelers and contractors to help them understand when they need to bring you in?
Absolutely.
How do you do that?
So, again, when folks call me and say, I have a couple of calls right now where folks are getting ready to do a remodel project. They've heard about this energy audit thing and, hey, maybe I should check into this. And so that's, my job is to educate them. Hey, perfect, folks. This is exactly when you should bring in and have an energy assessment is prior to doing the work. It is far cheaper, far less aggravation, far better course of action to have that energy audit of your home prior to starting anything.
So it's back to what we've been talking in some of our others. It's having the priorities and the plan.
Absolutely.
And then working it.
Absolutely. Because
but if you have no plan, then you're just winging it.
It's a sad story to look at a homeowner and say, well, you already did the remodel. You're having this problem. You've spent all these thousands of dollars. And guess what? You're going to have to spend a little more now because we're going to have to backtrack to fix this problem. And it's, at the end of the day, it's going to cost you a little bit more.
But
yes,
it'll be fixed.
Still to your benefit to do it.
Yeah.
But we could have addressed this ahead of time. And by the way, I also have the horror story of, people don't even think, like when they're replacing the siding in the windows. Well, that is a perfect time. If we're going to replace siding, let's address the thermal envelope, right? How leaky is this house?
Okay, what do you mean by thermal envelope? So let's just explain it in a layperson.
You think of your house as a box that surrounds you and protects you, floor, ceiling, walls.
Right.
That's the thermal envelope.
So and your wall assembly. So because there's multiple things in a wall. It's not just 2x4s and drywall and siding.
The traditionally built home is, sticks and insulation, but they don't seal the holes and insulation is not, the best choice usually and can have gaps and
don't caulk the joints.
Right. That's right. In my own home, I use my home as a test house.
Yep.
And when I became an auditor, I audited my home. I did the blower door test, which determines how leaky it is. I used the IR camera. I found out where the insulation was lacking.
What's an IR camera?
IR camera sees heat differences.
Ah, the thermal camera.
Thermal camera.
Okay, cool.
I
Those
call
are
it
fun.
the infrared IR camera, thermal camera.
Show you
same
the hot
thing.
and the cold spots in your house, right?
Right. And so you can see air movement, temperature differences of air movement. You can also see lack of insulation or where insulation has fallen away. Like if you
So
have
it's
a
like
knee,
magic eyes to look inside the walls,
it's
right?
like Ghostbusters.
I like that.
But you can be surprised at what you find. People that have cathedral ceilings often have problems. People that have story and a half, those can be a nightmare of a problem, costing you lots of dollars in comfort issues. These things can be repaired relatively cheaply in the grand scheme of things, right?
I
And
think
made
that's
so
what
much
throws
better.
most people. I think most people think, kind of the head in the sand attitude, what I don't know won't hurt me.
Right.
And if I can make one point from what I'm hearing from you, that's not the case, folks. These are addressable issues. They're not that hard to address, but you do if you have an issue, you need to address it because you're never going to solve it just talking about it.
But
Well,
they're even easier to address, but they're even easier to address prior to doing the remodel or prior to doing the construction.
That's the time to do it.
Going back and trying to fix the problem on the back end, because then you're kind of retracing your steps, right?
But it can be done if you need to. So at least that, not the
absolutely.
best option. I agree.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, so what's another horror story? You got some good stories.
Yeah. So, so this house that I'm working on now, like I said, 20-degree difference upstairs.
That's amazing. Ooh.
And air conditioner never shut off the entire. By the way, when I do
It's not sized right.
Yeah. Well, when I do a full energy audit, I'm there all day.
Wow.
It's not a quick process. It's an investigation.
It's
of
very
the home.
thorough.
Not their 10 minutes in a checklist.
So you're the home detective,
so
huh?
here's one. In this remodel, they sold them an electric furnace and put the ductwork in the attic. Oh boy, bad choice, right? But if I had been there at the onset, I would have said, hey, not the best option here, folks. Let's try to solve this problem this way instead. Here are these other options, right?
Got it. So how do you fix it now that it's up there in the attic?
Well, we're going to need to go back and do some air sealing of that ductwork.
And then do you
some
insulate it?
additional insulation of that
Okay.
ductwork. Well, and by the way, there are always multiple ways to solve a problem. That's one
Yeah,
approach.
cool.
That's one approach.
Okay.
Another approach might be to foam the underside of the roof decking so
make
that
it
you
con-
encapsulate
make it
the
in
attic.
conditioned space, yeah, okay.
But there's trade-offs in everything and
Yep.
cost issues to evaluate. And so that's where I come in. Hey, this repair is going to cost you more, but this is the benefit. This repair is going to cost you less, but this is the benefit. So, I'm your consultant
I love the fact, though, that you come in and help people weigh the pros and cons. And I'm going to tell you, I haven't talked to a lot of energy professionals that quite approach it like you do. Everybody that I've talked to has amazing experience. But I love the way you come at it, and I'm being very particular here, but I like the way you come at it from the benefit side.
Yeah.
So,
And there's no agenda either.
Yeah.
You're not pushing a particular product.
My
That's the
only
nice thing about
agenda
it.
is to help folks.
Right.
Okay, that's a
Period.
great place to take a break.
Like I wish somebody would help me.
There you go.
Right.
There you go. We'll be right back.
Wouldn't it be cool if your advertising could last forever? It can with perpetual advertising. Here's how it works. Unlike TV or radio ads, where every instance the ads are broadcast, they're only played once and lost forever. Perpetual advertising can have repeat exposure and replayability weeks, months, and even years after they're inserted in a podcast. So even if a podcast is a few years old, your ads will still be impactful to repeat listeners, as well as new listeners. This gives your advertising dollar the most bang for the buck. Find out more about perpetual advertising at twoguystalking.com/sponsors.
When I say the word Tron, what do you think of? You might think of neon-lined outfits. You might think of the light cycles. You might even be thinking of the MCU. But when I say the words Tron Legacy, what do you think of? It was a revisit to one of the most innovative films of the 1980s. Don't miss the Tron Legacy Perspective Review from Two Guys Talking. A complete, detailed, and always educational visit back to the land of nostalgic feature films. Check that out and more at perspectivereviews.com.
Okay, so we're here today with Kelly talking about all kinds of ways to solve issues in a home. And I love it. Have a solution for the things that are plaguing you in your home.
Well, on a certain topic here, we're on energy efficiency.
I know, but but how many of the problems in a home revolve around energy efficiency and comfort?
Some do, some others don't.
A lot. But yeah, I mean, or holes in a wall might lead to moisture issues. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that can be found with an energy audit that may be contributing to your house not taking care of it. What was it we were talking about? The promise of your house. And this is a way to have your house fulfill its promises to take care of its residents, right? You want the residents to be safe and comfortable and healthy, and you want the structure to promote that kind of an environment. And addressing the issues that you find in a house is one way to do that.
Right. You bring up another really extremely important issue, and that's health and safety, which an audit also involves.
Yeah.
It's a whole house approach.
Just like we have holistic health for our bodies, you can help people have holistic health for their homes.
Absolutely. And so I think women are ultimately concerned with health and safety of their families.
I think everybody is, but women do seem to be really on target with that.
And we have a rising epidemic of asthma in this country. And in large part, they attribute that to microbial growth, mold, and things in a home.
Air quality, yeah.
Yeah, so you can have spaces in homes that are not properly ventilated. You can have a leaky house and have a room, like a bathroom or a basement, that's not properly ventilated, and then you have microbial growth or whatever. So I think I relate to, being a woman, I relate to women and what they want for their families and their homes is the bottom line.
Do you typically find yourself working a lot of times with the women in a household?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have women that will do the legwork and call around about energy audits.
Nice.
And women that choose me because I'm a woman, men that choose me because I'm a woman, and people that choose me because I'm easy to talk to, I'm clear, I'm direct to the point. When I do a report on an energy audit, I say to folks, here, I'm giving you the report. I want you to take time to read over this. And then we're going to have a conversation and clarify anything that you don't understand or need direction on. And folks come back to me 99% of the time, and they're like, well, it's all pretty clear.
Good.
And so I pride myself on that, being able to educate people and relate to people in ways that they can understand.
You have to converse with them if that's going to happen. You're right.
Least common denominators, what I like to say.
You know, it's a technical field.
It is, and I think that scares a lot of people.
That's right. And so I think I have a knack for explaining things in a way to folks that they can really grasp and understand and know what to do next.
Well, and one of our goals with Green Gab is to really showcase to women and men, but women in particular, because so many women are the caretakers of their home, that there's a vast sea of resources available to you to improve your home and to make your home the kind of place you want it to be so that it not only looks good, but it performs well. Because a house, if it's going to fulfill its promise of taking care of us, the people that live there, it needs to do that. It has to not just look good. It has to also perform and be long-lasting and make you comfortable and all the things that we're talking about.
Right. One of the things that when folks ask me about energy audits and what they entail, I do a survey of various things in their home, how they're using energy and such. But hey, do you have microbial growth? And do you have the proper ventilation in the bathroom and the kitchen? And are you using it? And by the way, do you have children or anyone in this house that has asthma or allergies?
Yeah.
And do you know that the way your house was constructed may be contributing to those issues? And might we improve their health if we address how, the construction of your home and how things are, the air tightness, but the ventilation, it kind of goes hand in hand.
Right, it does.
Right.
And that's something we've talked about. So is that a shocker to a lot of homeowners?
I don't know that people, when they're thinking energy efficiency, when they call about an audit and they're not completely understand the full scope, of the whole house performance aspect. So there's a lot of education that happens on my end, and we need to, it's kind of an uphill climb, but that's why we do things like today, is to help folks understand a little bit more about that whole process and why it would benefit them.
What's the number one reason people call you?
Their bills are high and they have lack of comfort. That's number one reason.
And then what do you think is the number one surprise that people get from working with you and discovering these things about their home?
When folks see me do an audit, they say, holy cow, I see already before your report that I just got way more than my money's worth.
Nice.
It's true.
I like that.
That's always nice.
I mean, when I'm there all day and they see all the diagnostic testing and the thoroughness of my energy audit, I usually knock their socks off.
And then you get the interpretation on top of that, which is where it becomes actionable.
That's right.
And it's the actions that matter. We all know that.
Yep.
I had a guy one time, I was at the home show, and one of my very first customers, I helped him, I consulted with him throughout his repair process, and he repaired his own home.
Oh, wow.
And I was at a home show, and I was talking to a customer and trying to explain an energy audit. And this guy just happened to walk up in the middle of this conversation and say, everything she says is true. She's awesome. You need to hire her. I said, I burst into laughter. I said, I really didn't pay that guy to do that. I really didn't. But I mean, that is the reaction that my customers have.
And testimonials from your customers are always going to be your best form of advertising.
Yeah.
What's one of your most fulfilling projects?
Oh, gosh. There's been so many. I mean, I get a charge out of, when you go to a house, you don't know what you're going to be facing and what you're going to find.
I can imagine.
But when you have somebody who has, I had a condo where it was 20-degree difference from the top floor to the basement, couldn't use the front 2 rooms. And I'm going into this thinking, am I going to be able to solve this problem? But I know how to use my tools. I always do solve the problem. And when I find that smoking gun, it's a charge. It's like, there it is. That's the hole. Or that is the place. And in this particular condo, it was caulking where the brick wall met the ceiling and hot air was just pouring into this house.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It was a caulk job. And a large part of this heat problem and cold problem was a caulk job, right? Well, no,
which is such a simple
contractor who sells
solution.
insulation is not going to tell you that.
Yep.
No, because he wants to sell more
contractor who's selling
insulation.
HVAC is not going to tell you that, hey, you need to caulk this part of your
You need a
walls.
$2 tube of caulk.
And you know what? But
And by the
that's-
way, you can do it yourself.
That's a great point, though, because that sometimes is the difference between some of the homes we see done by a production builder versus a custom builder. The custom builder,
details.
those seams are always caulked in the big custom builders, whereas in the production, you can walk by and
Sometimes.
see sunlight all the time.
Well,
Sometimes.
and I even have worked with new home builders to help them understand how can we improve what we're doing, even though this is an energy efficient build.
Yeah,
how can
but-
we improve this?
Keep going, Kelly. You're making it happen. And kudos to you for really putting it out there and helping to move it all forward. Unbelievably, we are out of time. I can't thank you enough.
We have so much to talk about.
I know. I tell everybody.
It's only half an hour.
It goes fast, but this is a great way to get people back on the show, talking more about this. And the more we can share these experiences, the more people can take action, make a huge difference in their own homes. And that gives us the chance to keep gabbing green. So thanks. Check us out on Green Home Coach. See you next time.